up in this game. One of the best, if not the best defenses in the NBA. Was that in part from Robert Williams? Yes. He's one of their best defenders alongside Marcus Smart. But they were able, you see, that's the second most important play of the game for the Celtics was the play right before that spin and score from Tatum at the buzzer, which was double teaming Kyrie without fouling. And then Tatum plays incredible one-on-one defense on KD at the end of the shot clock. They force Kyrie to pass. They play great defense on KD. He has to take a tough shot. He misses the tough shot. And then they are a more complete team than Nets. The Celtics are 100% contenders. They are playing, Jaylen Brown is playing fantastic. Tatum is playing like a superstar. I mean, he is playing incredible. He's playing great. He's playing like one of the best players in the league, which he has been for like at least the second half of the season. And they have a very complete team. Mm-hmm. They have lots of guys who can do it for them. They're not the deepest team in the East, but they can go to their bench. Ime Udoka has been great. He's shown that he can coach a cohesive Celtics team. Like the things that Boston has been criticized for in the past, I think they're showing they're better this year. They're taking better shots. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are able to share the floor well. Jason Tatum had like 7 assists in the first half. That's great for him to show that he can pass the ball well and distribute to their other guys on the floor and get them involved. If they can get past the Nets, they can make it to the finals. No. The Bucks are a threat. The Bucks are their only other threat. The Heat are not a threat. The Heat are not a threat to them. The Heat are not a threat. They.
Ben, what do you think?
Okay.
I don't think they're going to win an NBA championship. Their ceiling is a championship. Their ceiling is a championship.
Isaac.
Let's hear Ben out.
Isaac. So I get it. The Boston Celtics, they're finally not disappointing you for once. And they're a great team. But when it comes to contender, the term gets tossed around too lightly. Where when I think contender, I think I can picture them in the NBA Finals this season and not being swept. So just generally contenders to make it to the finals. They're my fourth team because it goes. I would say my number one team if everything goes right.
Fourth is a contender.
No, it's not. Do you look at the fourth seed? The top 4 seeds in every conference aren't viewed as contenders. I don't view the 4th best team in a conference as a contender.
Well, it depends. Oh, you think they're the 4th best team in the East?
Yes, that's what I'm talking about. Yes. Okay. So Okay. So you go Bucks, Heat, Nets in any order. I'm taking those teams over the Celtics, especially since Robert Williams. He will be back in the second round, but he's not going to be exactly. He's coming straight off in a ruptured. What was it that he injured? It was meniscus. He's not going to be the same dude. Like he'll be like 80%. But 80% of Rob Williams, who was their most impactful defensive player by far, I mean, he led the team in win shares, and it wasn't really close. Without that guy being 100%, I don't see them going too far, especially since I don't trust the Celtics role players to be so consistent to where they can be in the NBA Finals because they're just not. I don't trust Derek White and Marcus Smart to have 20 points like Marcus Smart had today on perfect shooting. Marcus Smart's not doing that every night, and he's not doing that most nights. Marcus Smart is going to be an inefficient 14 points 80% of the time because that's just who he is offensively. I don't trust him to do that. And if Simmons comes back at some point in this series, I have the Nets. I'm picking the Nets. And especially since you said
Simmons confirmed for Game 4. So
you said since Kevin Durant got locked up, you can't lock up Kevin Durant. Here's the thing. If it could have happened, someone would have done it by now in a playoff series, but you just can't. When Kevin Durant has an off night, he has an off night, but that's very rare, and especially in the playoffs. Kevin Durant will have 30 points or more in the next game they play because he's just that dude. He will get his own, and you can't stop him. It's like when people say, "Oh, well, who's going to win this matchup? Who's going to guard Giannis?" Like no one's stopping Giannis, but you can limit him. I just don't. They can't limit Kevin Durant. Only Kevin Durant can limit Kevin Durant, and he limited himself today. He couldn't hit a shot for his life, especially in the clutch.
My thing with the Celtics is that I think they could. I think with Robert Williams coming back with that 80%, I still think they can contend. But for the meantime, without him, I mean, I don't think that's really possible. I'm gonna look when I look more into it. I originally think the Celtics would they would still be contenders given all their scoring. But looking into it, I mean, just this game one, I mean, Nicholas Claxton and Andre, before Drummond got injured, he was like feasting, and Nicholas Claxton had a very good game. The main issue with that is that there's a big hole in that center position and on defense when Daniel Tice is your best bet at guarding the interior. That's going to be a problem without Robert Williams.
Mm-hmm.
I think that hole is really going to be the downfall of them, because if they win in the first round, they'll go up against Giannis, and he's going to exploit that without Williams. I think with Williams, you can somewhat contain him to the point where you have a chance of winning, but without him, you can't really do that, and especially against Bam Adebayo.
Yeah, and I mean, just before we move on, I just want to say the Heat are a threat. If you don't think the Heat are a threat, you're not watching the Miami Heat, because I will lay out their defensive players again, and I didn't even list out all of their good defensive players, but if you're Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, that's just about the last team you want to face. Because, I mean, they're a 1 seed for a reason. You got Jimmy, like, you have that whole defensive five. You have Jason Tatum will call for a screen. He has Jimmy Butler on him, and then he'll get PJ Tucker on him. He'll call for another one, and he has Caleb Martin on him. He calls for another one. He has Bam Adebayo on him. There's no good situation with the Miami Heat on who's going to be guarding you, because they're just such a well-oiled machine. So I would say they're obviously a threat, and I would say I would take them over the Celtics. But